Hi, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways. My main man, Jimbo Goodman, went off to watch Super Saturday, and he's gone on to the Adelaide sales, as we've been talking about, to try and find some horses for his friends, and well done to him. In his place, I got Warren Lenferno. Warren, thanks very much for coming and joining us. Some interesting sport over the weekend. I know you never played lock for Transvaal, but football. Interesting results.
Most certainly, Paul. Yeah, you know, the Liverpool supporters must be quiet now after Man United beating them.
2-1. That's kept them quiet, and I'm amazed. One of the old messages out there: Salah this, Salah that. Salah scored more goals than all the Man United strikers. He has one bad game, and they bury him. What about Jimbo's team?
Yeah, Arsenal doing well. Jimbo leaves, and Arsenal start to do well.
Yeah, they won their last 2 games, and most of the top teams won, but. On a better news, rugby, you look like an old lock, as I said. Sharks coming back?
Yes, most certainly. And a good friend of mine tipped me to a budgie, of course, thinks 25-1 the price. I got my friends for them to win
the Super Rugby.
Super Rugby, we took 25-1, and
they scaled you.
They probably did.
You should have got 50.
50-1, but they're starting to do well. Which
starting to do well, yeah. And then also, I'm pleased with the cricket.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah.
Proteas, can they beat the Aussies? Let's hope Proteas can level this series. But let's get on to racing, and the first segment, as always, 3 to follow. Right, 3 to follow this week. Funny enough, they all come out of the Gauteng on the Halfveld. We picked some horses we feel have got a chance, and we'll get straight into the action. It was the early races at the Vaal, and this is on the 6th. Have a look at a horse called Belton Road. We'll show you the replay now. There it is, Warren. There's Belton Road having this debut run. It's in a 1,000-meter dash, and it gets away pretty well. There's a lot of speed in the race. You know, the horse like Green Haze, Gone with the Wind, Shaylin Boy, they're all showing a lot of speed. But this is a good debut. Very,
very good debut from the Mike de Kock and mate, and is racing up there with the early pace, as you can see, Paul. And chatting to Matthew de Kock, who's very good at giving his first-timer comments, he gave this horse a chance, just a concern about the distance, and seeing by the way this horse ran, quite rightly so.
Yeah, if you look at the race here, Warren is moving up to get a blow in. The winner's down its inside, and Alec Laird's horse, Green Haze, for Chris Gerber. That's in the Gerber Silks. But just here, you think this horse is going to win Belton Road. On his debut, it's by All Too Hard, who's a very good stallion, half-brother to Black Caviar. Now it's just the 2 of them.
Now it's the 2 of them. Green Haze by Give Me the Green Light, a pick-up ride on the day for Keegan de Mello, but a very encouraging debut from Belton Road.
Yeah, that's one to be. That's the first of ours there, Belton Road. And then we go to this Saturday. We're going to go look at races this Saturday. There's some very good racing there. There was a couple of listed races. While we're talking about them, well done to Karori, turning out to be a superb sire when the booting home's first, seconds and thirds, and Warren doing well, Karori.
Very much so. Stallion to really take note of.
Monkshood.
Monkshood,
yeah, Monkshood, very good. They've had some Group 1 horses, and they're doing well. But on the day, we found another horse for you to have a look at, and this is a horse called Silvez. Let's go and have a look at this horse. Now, here's Silvez. This is 1160. And that also comes out quite decently. This is Lyle Hewitson riding it for Sean Terry, and of course the main man, Chris van Niekerk. Shows speed here and then sort of loses it, Warren.
Most certainly, Paul, as you can see there, just with the big white noseband, as you said, in the van Niekerk colours, showing nice early pace. And you'll see as the race goes on, drops quite a way off, not quite a way off them, but drops off the pace and comes right back.
If you see it now and you see it at the 200, it's not going to run a place.
It's not going to run a place at all, Paul, but really when the penny dropped with his horses, we'll see in a moment, really an impressive debut.
Yeah, Jimbo's old horse, Gimme Hope Joanna, is also got a noseband on the south side of the red colours. That wins a good race for Mike de Kock and Bonji Dalpech. But have a look at those we found. Silvez has now dropped into 6th or 7th.
Yeah, Lyle Hewitson just niggling away, saying, you know, come on, girl, let's get going. You had to race. And there's still, Paul, you know, 1 or 2 taps, very green, 1 or 2 taps with a stick. And when the penny drops, it's still very green. Yeah, this horse kicks on nicely at the end.
Yeah, it's come through well. You can see Gimme Hope Joanna had the form to win, but this horse, it's a sparkling run. And as Warren says, when the penny drops, be with that horse. It's called Silvez. And then the next one we're going to, and you managed to speak to young Mr. de Kock about this horse, first time out, Dagmar, and they run a decent race.
Yeah, Paul, this horse was due to run on the Thursday, and
That's
the
right.
meeting was washed out, and he said very, very nice horse, you know, if not too green. It would have strong each-way claims, and people forget each way is first, second or third, you know.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
This horse was really impressive on debut.
Yeah, let's have a look at Dagmar. It's debuting, and it's an interesting race. You know, it's the Ruffian Stakes. You debut in the Ruffian Stakes, and so we've certainly got to take mention of this horse. It's in the red colours, comes out a little slowly. A lot of talk was for the Frankel called Frankly, who went off as favourite for Alec Led. But the pace is on, you know, Urban Oasis, River Rafting, Starflyer, Princess Blitz. There's a lot of speed in this race. And the winning rider here, Muzi across the Yeni, has sat back a bit on Dagmar. It doesn't look like a big horse watching from here, Warren.
It doesn't look like a big filly at all, Paul. Another Karari. We're talking about Karari. This Dagmar is by Karari. And how wonderful to see the China Horse Club colours here on South African soil. And they're just off the early pace. Muzi Yeni giving it a patient ride. And when he asks the question, the response is almost instant.
Yeah, here it is. It does say there's Frankly the favourite on the blue down the inside. I wouldn't lose faith in that horse. That'll be back. But this horse is really quick, and it's a debutant in the Ruffian Stakes, which is a listed race, and it's too good for Urban Oasis.
Most certainly, Paul. A really impressive winner. A nice ride from Muzi, and a horse that really caught the eye.
Well, there we go. Those are three to follow. They're all from the Haarveld, and they're going to be horses that you have to follow. Let's get on to our next segment. This shouldn't happen. There we go. You can go onto YouTube and watch the whole lot that Jimbo's put in there for This Shouldn't Happen. It's always very amusing, as you can see from the horse doing this little bit of a prance there. Right, the next segment that we're going on to is Plum of the Week. And this week in Plum of the Week, we've gone for a horse who's now won 4 in a row, a Western Winter, and it wins a very good race. Anthony Delpesh seen to good advantage. Let's look at the race and we'll tell you the odds that were available.
Black Cat Bacchus towards the outside, and then comes Cutting Edge. Top of the lane, Cumulus, but Sunset Eyes the first one to challenge. Vision to Kill on the inside. Black Cat Backs running on from behind, and further back on that boulevard. Sunset Eyes at the front. Black Cat Back becomes a runner on the outside. Black Cat Back and down the inside. Sunset Eyes, then Vision to Kill over the last 100. Tribal Fusions also running on from behind, but Sunset Eyes still goes, and Sunset Eyes won a Tribal Fusion second. Black Cat Back ran third, Maybe Musket ran fourth.
Well, this horse was supported. He opened up at 33 to 10, and at the death there were 7 to 2 available, and this horse has improved, Warren.
It certainly has improved, Paul, and nice to see a great ride from Anthony Delpesh on his wife Candice's birthday. But this horse arrived in the province, Paul, with a 79 rating. and raced off a 92 yesterday. So it just shows how nicely this horse is improved.
Yeah, it would have been given 6 because every horse in the province was given 6. But as you say, it's a very valid point. And on Interbet, you could have got onto this horse and taken your 7-2s, because a lot of people thought the stablemate might beat it. But that's our plum of the week, Sunset Hours. 4 in a row, not easy to do. We'll have a little break. We'll be back after the break.
The future of all betting is online and mobile. Interbet, we're the pioneers of online and mobile betting in South Africa and continue to lead the way.
But when you win one of these big races, everything else becomes meaningless. It's just something, that thrill of adrenaline is just incredible.
Interbet is where the serious professionals bet.
Hi and welcome to Current Affairs. There were no stakes races around our country, but there was a lot of interest on Super Saturday. Phil Georgia had gone over with Jimbo Goodman and of course Kevin Shea, both presenters down this neck of the woods, and a lot of friends went out to go and watch to see what would happen. We've picked out the 2 races where we were represented in at Maidan. Interesting racing because this is a forerunner to the big night, you know, and the word on the ground is the 2 we're going to show here, Janubi and El Salim, are going to be going back on the big night.
Yes, the word on the ground, Paul, that's quite right, that Michael will have 2 runners, as you say, Janubi and El Salim.
Maybe 1 or 2 others to follow when they finalise
we'll
things.
Finalise the fields.
And end of the month?
Yeah, it's a lot of people are going.
Yeah, no, that's right. I know that it's filling up. It's great to get out there and get all the Let's Go Travel, Phil Giorgio, and get onto this trip, because I just spoke to them about, you spoke to Kevin, what a good time.
Yes, as I say, a lot of South Africans over there, Paul. I mean, as you know, Divan Neethling is working for Mark de Kock, and Phil's there, and Kevin Shea sent some beautiful footage, did Kevin, from Dubai, some that we could show and some that we couldn't show of them lounging around the swimming pool, but really some great interviews. Those are all posted up on the Gold Circle Facebook, and really a lot of South Africans there, and it was a great time.
Yeah, so let's go and have a look at the first one, and this is where we had 2 horses, Whiskey Baron and Janubi. I know Janubi, they were looking to go the 1800 and see how it would run. Let's have a look at the race and we'll comment afterwards.
So we're almost set. Shane Ryan ready for them, the Group 1 Jebel Hatter. Ready to go at the 1800 metres. Gates are back and they're racing. Janubi got a fly out wide, will go straight to the lead. Whiskey Baron above and beyond began well. GM Hopkins is trying to hold up there with promising run and now rushing through. Folkswood over on the inside is going to be forward as well. Folkswood follows the rails, goes to the lead over above and beyond. Janubi camps in 3rd. Whiskey Baron is up 4th, a little wide on the track, followed by promising run GM Hopkins. Then Leshlar over on the inside, Blair House, followed by Ben Battle, Radani, and back at the tail is Ector Run. 25.51 the lead time. And now above and beyond has come across and got to the lead for Mosse. Quickly off its back is Folkswood. Up 3 wide, Janubi in the breeze, followed by promising run, Whiskey Baron. Then came GM Hopkins. Over on the inside, Blair House. They were followed by Ben Battle. And out a little bit wider is Leshlar as they come off the back straight. They were followed by Radani, and Ector Run's at the rear. Down the side they begin to run now in the Jebel Hatter. And the front runner is above and beyond. Shows the way. Folkswood stalking at second. Then came Janubi and a promising Run. Whiskey Baron trapped out a shade wide. They were followed by GM Hopkins at the top of the straight. Blair House is over on the inside, locked away. Next of all, as they come to the top of the straight, whipping around them very quickly is Ben Battle coming into it strongly, followed by Ectoran, Radani well back, and near the tail of the field is Leshlar, but into the straight they come, and Ben Battle's made a very quick run, gone up alongside of Janubi to take the front. Just off them is Foxwood, followed by Blair House. Promising Run trying to get out, down the outside Ectoran. Ben Battle's gone to the lead, Janubi fighting back, and Blair House gets the run on the inside, powers through. Promising Run is out wider, but Blair House shoots up the lead, trying to go with it, Janubi and also Ben Battle, but Blair House takes the Jebel Hatter, wins it by 3 parts of a length over Ben Battle. Close up and nose away is Janubi, followed by Promising Run, then Ectoran. Next across the line was Foxwood, followed by...
Well, there we go. Another very good effort from Janubi, and Whiskey Baron certainly not his run. He's going to be back. He was gone, I thought, when they straightened up for home. He moved up for a stride or two and never went on with it. Brett Crawford is over there, and he'll be trying to find out what's going on. I believe the next move, Warren, will be to go across to Asia to race. You know, I don't think he's going to run on the big night. But Janubi stretched the 1800. He was wide early. He ran a great race to give me 3/4 of a length.
Very, very good one. I thought at one stage it looked like, you know, he had a little bit, had enough, but he came right back. And then, as you say, I mean, Blair House took off up the inside rail.
Yeah.
And 3/4 of a length or so, great run.
Group 1 over 1800, very
best
good.
Around. Very good run.
They've got to be pleased. Michael Lecoq's got to be chuffed with that. And
Whiskey Baron will come. Sorry, Paul will come back another day, as you say. Whiskey Baron. That was not the horse's run. The run before that was exceptional.
Yeah, no, he's a top horse. He'll be back, and we have no doubt about that. He's got his trainer there, going to sort things out. Right, let's move on to the other race we're going to show you is the City of Gold, and this is where we had Al Salim. He had been a very good horse here, and he had shown that he needed it. When we spoke to Trevor Brown last week, he said to us, this horse has turned the corner, he's doing well, he's going over the 12 furlong. It's a race where he never really gets into it, but he does show good progress up the stretch from a position way off the pace. Let's have a look at it, and we can work out what we think.
The racing in the Dubai City of Gold and Treasury Notes was clearly the last to begin. Hawkbill shows good speed and driving through his call to the bar, and Jan Soon's being hustled up there, along with Earnshaw off the inside to hold a spot with Frontiersman. So a bit of a charge into the first corner. Guild Complex and Best Solution are trapped out wide. Going to the lead is Frontiersman as they make their way up the side towards the back. Jan Soon around the outside to second. Earnshaw being steadied back to third from call to the bar, then a Hawkbill. Guild Complex trapped out wide going forward. They will follow in turn then as they race their way into the back by Best Solution, and over on the inside next of all there as they go to the back is Alhama as Guild Complex might have gone amiss as being pulled out of it. They were followed by El Sahem. Getting back is Treasury Notes over on the inside, followed by Trouble of course. A fair way back in the field is Gold Star, and Newlands was back at the rear. 25.8 was the lead section on. Frontiersman shows the way as they run down the back. Going up on the outside, Best Solution was trapped wide, so worked around the outside of the breeze now from Jan Soon. Earnshaw over on the inside. Next of all there is Hawkbill, followed between them by Call to the Bar, and over on the inside next is Alhame. Then 2 lengths away in the field to El Sahem. They were followed by Treasury Notes, then Trouble of course. A fair way back is Gold Star, and Newlands over on the inside. About to come off the back, and Frontiersman shows the way. Has done it well from the front. Best Solution in second. Earnshaw's very handy to them over on the inside from Jan Soon. Now Hawkbill given a little bit more rain by Buick, slides around the outside. They were followed by Alhama as they come down towards the bend, followed by Call to the Bar. It's tracking into it well. Trouble of course, then Treasury Notes. Fair way back is Gold Star about to come to the outside. They were followed next by Al Sahem, and over on the inside is Newlands. For home they come. 500 metres to go in the final race. Frontiersman's done it well, but Hawkbill looms up on the outside, runs to a clear second now. Around the outside, Called to the Bars, travelled into it quite strongly. They were followed by Earnshaw, but Hawkbill went for home. Hawkbill loomed alongside a Frontiersman. Got about 3/4 of a length, then Called to the Bar. Finishing on out in the middle is Gold Star. Hawkbill the leader, but Frontiersman is coming back over on the inside. Hawkbill just in front. Frontiersman grinding away over on the inside. Hawkbill finding enough down to the wire. They hit it, Hawkbill. Hawkbill a short half head over Frontiersman. A gap off to Gold Star, running on strongly, then Called to the Bar, followed by El Sahem making good.
Well, I thought it was a good run by LCM. Warren, what would have worried me being a trainer is that he had 5-6 horses behind him initially and turned at the straight joint last.
Yeah, a bit of a muddling race, as you say, you know, for 5 or 6 horses behind him early on, and then all of a sudden you look again, he's joint last, turning into the home straight. But
he runs on well.
He runs on well. He certainly does run on well, and you know, there's as usual some top horses in the race. Yeah. And you've got to be pleased with the way he ran on.
I think so. I think Michael will be pleased. He'll be angry. I know that Ride Like That, he doesn't stomach too easily. And the horse had a hell of a lot to do. And he proved he's got ability. He stayed every inch of the trip. And he could be a little bit of a lurker on the big night.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, so look forward to seeing them run on the big night. Watch this space because we will keep you posted, and if you want to go, get out there and have some fun and enjoy some stable life and see the horses and have a few drinks and have some fun. Get all the Let's Go Travel and join the band of all of us who are going out there for the big night. It's not a meeting to miss because of the quality of horse we get there from all over the world. But Warren, good news is that you've been able to go down to the new studio. Raymond Spielberg and his team at Gold Circle are getting this new studio, and so within the next week we'll be in the new studio.
Paul, we did a test run the other day, Andrew Harrison and I think you were away, and we went down to that studio and really, as you say, Raymond and his entire team have put a hell of a lot of weight behind this and really done well. It's magnificent.
It's the green screen.
Excuse me, it's the green screen, yes indeed, and the computer works and the buttons behind the scene. Really is
it's
something
amazing.
special.
Raymond showed me some footage of what he can put behind us while we're talking, and he can keep changing it. And it really is state of the art.
Yeah, it is indeed. It really is state of the art, and it's going to be something to really look forward to, and it's just exciting, really, really exciting.
Yeah, I do know that they have an exco meeting to get it all finalised. But also, Warren, from the publishing side, we've got the new Parade magazine.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting, the article and what they do with tendons. Have a look here if we can just get a photo of this. This is the new Parade magazine.
Yeah.
And there it is. Make sure you get it. Lovely photograph.
Yeah, Monique Mansour and Legal Eagle on the front cover.
Oh, fantastic. That's a great photo. And there's some very good articles in the Parade magazine. See if you can get hold of that. And that is a slightly abridged version of Current Affairs, because in your call, Warren and I are going to be going through the mail that's come through, and it'll probably be a little longer than we thought. But let's go for another break. Right, welcome back. As we said, we're going to be reviewing the mail. We've let it back up a bit, and some of it is slightly dated, but it's all well worth considering and answering. Some of the people have sent questions that involve other people in the industry, and I've tried wherever I can to contact those people and get their comments so that we get it right. And Warren and I have got ourselves the list of the people we're going to be discussing and going through. And Warren, I'll read the first one to you, and it's track surface. Hi, James and Paul's. I was at Scottsville yesterday, looked at the surface. The inside track was green and smooth in stark contrast to the outside track where we raced. The point being, this track has not been raced on since the Comrades and grown beautifully and supposed to be a non-growing season. Well, that's always the excuse. Please comment. Thanks for your great show. Marty. Well, Warren, as you know, Gold Circle directors have put a lot of time into making sure our tracks are ready for the winter season, which starts very shortly, and they want it to be right. We've taken flack over the years. It's a non-growing stage, And Tony Riverland has worked a lot up at Maritzburg with the people, and I think both our grass surfaces at the moment, both our major tracks here, are on great nick.
I can only agree with you, Paul, and I had some visitors from Joburg the other day that don't come racing in the province very often, and they were also overwhelmed by the grass tracks. And you know, in the email it says it's the non-growing season. Well, that's always the excuse. The fact is that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's a non-growing season.
People have got to remember, specialists have been brought in. We had board members sitting there, and Neil Butcher and the Racing Association has given us a mandate to get it right. And when I say us, I mean the track guys, the specialists, the people who've come in. We want it right. We cannot have the need for speed week and the track's not taking it, or getting up to the July gallops, the Vodacom July gallops, and the track's not right. So every effort has been put in to get our track services right. And at this stage, fingers crossed, everything is going brilliantly. But anyway, thanks, Marty. Always send the information. The second one we got is, I'm going to read this one to you. It's from a guy called Johan Smith. Now, Johan Smith, I'm going to read it because some of it's worth reading. I'm not going to go through everything of it, but he said the subject is jobs for pals in the racing industry, and he's an avid race goer and a former owner. I observe new face the goal several, but never see the principles of natural justice in place. Now, I don't know what the principles of natural justice are, and I can't seem to find what that means. Does he mean nepotism? I don't know. And he said, where are these positions advertised? At a broader level, the same can be said of the stewards and presenters. Now, the stewards would only refer back to the club system or the stipendiary stewards, and they've got their own system. They aren't club stewards anymore, Johan. But I've certainly not seen Warren Lenfern or Kevin Shay's role of presenting on Fridays being subject to open competition. So he's saying that you and Kev are not there. But I spoke to the CEO, Michelle Narak. He's got an open door policy, and he said to me, everything's done internally. The Gold Circle works on a system. The Teletrack does advertise for positions and that, but Gold Circle puts them on. And he said they always promote from the inside. If they cannot, that's right across the board at Gold Circle. If they cannot promote from the inside, they go and find a suitable candidate on the outside. That's when they advertise. And both guys being Gold Circle people, they got the jog, you know. And the other question that was given to me from that same time was, when are our tracking systems coming in? You know, Warren, they've got trackers that tells you, it tracks every single horse in the race, tells you what time they run it in and what distance they run. The case in question being Arrogate winning his big race and running 51 more yards than the runner-up because he ran wide. So the question to be answered, it's very close to being finished. It's been a lot of time, a lot of money. It's been a long, hard road. It's been a work in progress, but we are very close. We battled a lot, getting the little monitors on the horses' backs. They were cumbersome to start, and they have been made smaller. And Warren, it's a big plus if you know how far your horses run in the race.
Absolutely, Paul. I mean, it can only give positive information and to help the punter. But as you say, it's been a long road, and it's probably not quite at the end of the road just yet, but it's work in progress. You know, a lot of people think these things happen overnight. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time, effort, research. But as you say, it's nearly there, which is positive and which is exciting. Yeah,
I agree with you, Warren. Now let's move on to our third letter. Interesting letter here, and this letter is from a guy called Roy Petey, and I'm not going to read it all out to you, but what he did say. It's about time we put a special guest on. Can we not get John Freeman on our show? Now, I immediately phoned John because there were questions I had to put to him, and he answered them all brilliantly. And he said when he comes up for the Vodacom Derby in July, he'll make a point of being on our show. And he's a great man when you consider what his portfolio of stallions is. But the questions put to John by Roy Petey were these. When selecting a future sire, Warren, do you look at race record against the pedigree? Now, he answered that very accurately, John. He said, race record is critical. He said, over the years, we brought horses with the same pedigrees, half brothers, but the one who was the Group 1 winner and the champion always produced the goods, and the half brother, you know, who was Nelson's half brother? You know?
Absolutely.
So that's what he looks for. And he gave me another story that he spoke about was when he was a kid, Drumbeat was imported into the country, and Drumbeat was a sensational stallion. The Passmores had him in that. And then the success, the breeders tried to bribe brothers and half-brothers to the great Drumbeat, and it didn't work, which has been the case in many countries around the world. And the Australians told John Freeman, breed to your champions. Your champions there, And you will get the good horses, and we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. We've got great horses that start. Just have a look at John's portfolio. But there were a couple of other questions that Roy had put to him, Warren. The other one was Jetmaster. Was he one of the leading sires of his time? And does he rank Jetmaster, is the question put to him. John had said that he ranked him very highly. He said, how do you do comparisons from stallions from leading in the different countries? It's very difficult. But one of the good pointers that John uses, Warren, is that if you've got a horse to go and race overseas, like Jetmaster's son, JJ the Jet Plane, right, and they can produce it, then the sire has got to be able to produce it out there. And I think it's a good yardstick because, as you know, Jetmaster was sensational.
Sensational, absolutely.
And he asked about two more, Captain L and Dynasty, and the same applies. Two sensational stallions, you know.
Absolutely. No, they are sensational. And John Freeman, as you say, it would be lovely to get him on the show because he's, as you say, a font of information.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and he's actually just got to look at his portfolio of stallions he looks after. They're the best in the country. And another interesting point that he makes, John Freeman makes, is that he believes our stallion pool is better than our mare pool. Very interesting. Thanks very much, Roy. Keep the letters coming in. Right, Warren, let's move on. I've got another one to read to you. What is, and this is from Kovlin Naidu, and this is very interesting. He addresses it to James Goodman. Thank you for excellent show every week. You, Mr. Lafty, make racing more interesting for me personally, I think, and the public as a whole. He said, I'm sending this email just to inquire about how I get to become an assistant trainer. And we've got so many great horsemen in this country. I've had a passion for horses since I was 6 years old. And I'd jump at the opportunity to go with my father, my grandfather, whenever they're going to gallops or whenever they're going to races. And he loves it. He said, I'm a Durban boy. I'm living in Cape Town now. And I really want to get involved in horses. Now, a lot of people over the time have come to me and said, how do I get involved in this game? How do you get involved in this game, you know?
Paul, there's a new trainers website.
That's it. Now,
trainers website that's being worked upon.
Yeah, that's right. There's a KZN trainers website. Very good point. And they're putting that up. It'll have all the details. It's going to be a one-stop shop where everybody can go on there and find out anything you want to know about Natal trainers, what's happening with Natal horses, and sponsorship coming from the vets, the feed companies, and making it a one-stop where you can go back and watch replays of races. And there is a site where young Kovlin could put his details, could go onto the site, would have an area, and any trainer might think, well, I'll give this guy a shot.
Absolutely, and obviously it's obvious for us, the racing guys, but it's not obvious for some of the listeners and viewers. But you know, the NHA would obviously, you know, you could also contact them with regards to, you'd have to do the exams through them, and
I think once you get accepted in, you know, you have to do your time as a stable employee, and then an assistant trainer, and then on to trainer. But I think once this website's up and running, Warren, it'll be
wonderful.
Wonderful. Everyone can go in there. It'll be the KZN Trainers website. It's being developed as we speak. But thanks very much, Kovlin. That's good to hear from you. I've got something here I wanted to just throw at you. And this, I don't know how accurate this is, but I wouldn't question it because it comes from Charles Fall. And as you know, Charles Fall is one of the great students of the game.
Yes.
His figures here are very interesting. I want to read them out to give you some sort of perspective because we're going through a stage where there's barrier trials and the likes, and again, that's something that we're working on, getting the horses of the right ages to race together in these trials. But here's what he said: a 2-year-old in horse terms is equivalent to a 7-year-old person. Okay, remember that. A 3-year-old is a 14-year-old. A 4-year-old is a 21-year-old. And a 5-year-old, the 26-year-old. That's interesting, and I have no reason to doubt him or to question him, but it just gives you a bit more perspective of your horse. Because what would you'd be about 11-year-old if you took horse years.
I'll be about 11 in horse years, yes, but I'll be about at least an 11-year-old in horse years.
But I never knew these figures.
I never knew these figures at all, and it's when you sit down and think of it, it certainly is interesting. And it's given us another angle to...
Just shows how young, if you're racing 7-year-olds, in the sense of a 2-year-old horse being a 7-year-old, you've got to watch for closed knees and the maturity points. But as I can see, there are many top horses who are 4- and 5-year-olds. That's 21 to 26. Thanks, Charles. That's very, very interesting stuff coming again from Charles Fall. All right. Now, you know more about this trainer than I do. You've done a bit of research down that part of the world. Corey Lensley. What did you read what the guy
He
sent
says,
us?
hello James, I'm good friends with the Lensley family, and he casually mentioned to Emmy about the possibility of a special interview on the Winning Ways show. And the guys in Kimberley, what Juggy Nadi is telling us, Paul, is that the guys in Kimberley are wanting to and are happy to engage with the media, because he feels that Kimberley racing gets very little exposure, and he might have a point.
Yeah, he might have a point.
Might certainly have a point. Obviously, except for race days. I mean, the show is, you know, they show all the racing, but he says besides that, they seem to get very little exposure.
So he's basically saying, Corey's the champion trainer, and why don't we get him on our show? Never, Corey, if you're listening, there's always a place to get your point across on our show. James and I will willingly interview you.
Yeah, we speak a lot to the trainers in
you know
Kimberley,
them.
and Corey Lensley.
They're all passionate.
Lovely guys, really. Jared Rugg and Yanni Borman, and the whole list of them.
There's a whole
really
list
are
of them,
passionate guys. But yeah, Corey Lensley is the leading trainer there at the moment, and I'm sure that we could arrange an interview with Corey, because he's a lovely man.
Absolutely. Okay, on we go. Now here's a very nice letter that's come in, and I'm going to read it to you, and it's, Hi Jimbo, just a note to say, you will be missed. Racing has sadly lost one of the good guys. Hope you stick around the industry in one form or another, and not just play golf. All the best, Jahan. So Jahan Malherbe sent this. I agree with him. You know, James has been around the block, and to me, he's a Hall of Famer, what he's done in this industry. And Jahan is the same as him. Been here for years. Successful man. Nice of him to send this.
Very, very nice of Jahan to send an email like this to James. And Jahan, as you say, a great man of the industry. He knows his oats, and wonderful to bump into Jahan when he's in town. And Paul, you know, there's always a negative that we've lost James from the training ranks, but the positive is that he's still around. He's here. He comes to the races.
He's at the sales in
Adelaide
Magic
at the
Millions.
moment, and it's
we
always
won't
wonderful.
Lose him.
No, we won't lose him.
We won't lose Jim.
And, you know, because once that bug bites and once the racing blood's flowing through your veins, it's very, very hard to get.
Yeah, thanks very much, Herbert. It's wonderful that you.
Herbert?
Yeah, Herbert Mulholland. That's his nickname,
Okay.
Herbert Mulholland. Okay, and on we move, and this comes under from a guy called Robert G. Now, interesting, I followed this up. Hi, James and Laf. Thanks for the nice show, Rick. I'd like to know, on Teletrack, prior to an upcoming race, why do they not indicate the distance of the race when showing the betting and winning place dividends? Good point.
Very, very good point.
Is it space? Is it what? I don't know. I'm just trying to think how they do it, Warren.
When we watch, sometimes you focus on the race, you focus on the horses, you don't really see much of the information around the screen. But got a good point, because obviously the win, the place, the odds and all that is there. Distance is
you
not.
have a look at a horse and it's a Ferrari, or it's by a speed selling, and you don't know it's going over 18.
You know, maybe to the Teletrack guys where it says 5 minutes to the race or 24 minutes. Just the brackets, they could put 1600, 1800. Maybe they could do that and help Robert G.
Yeah, very good, Robert. But another comment that he brought up is that very often after a winning ride, Arthur Marcus declines to show up for the interview. I believe that is extremely disrespectful to public viewers, especially for such a top rider. Lastly, could you please have Dave Mollett in our show? And again, Dave Mollett's got an open invite. But let me just get back to Anton, as he's known. I call him Arthur Marcus. He was ready to talk about it. I phoned him and I said to him, what is the reason for this? And he said, the reason for this is twofold. He said he has a situation where he has to watch his weight. He has to monitor his weight. He's always pressing for his weight to get it right. He does in the morning try to speak to the presenters and tell them about his chances throughout the day. He said a few years ago he went out and made a statement, and my best ride in the day is this, and he had 2 14-to-1 shot winners. One was a Group 1. The 7-to-10 shot was his best ride in the day, ran second. And he said the flack I took, and it wasn't just from websites, people were sending in emails, and that's completely unfair.
Completely unfair, Paul. Completely unfair. It's at the end of the day, it's an opinion. You want people's opinion. It's not a competition to see who's right and who's wrong. It's merely an opinion.
Just going to guard.
A guard, and sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong.
And then I said to him, Arthur, you've got to look at, people must get your comments out there, because he is one of the great riders of the province. And he said, what would be much easier, and it's something he thinks should be reviewed, is that when you come in from a race and you get off your horse, interview the jockey first, before he goes down, all the way down the stairs, up the other stairs, and has to weigh in and then run back. Get him there with his saddle and say, what do you think? Boom, boom, and go through. What are your fancy for the rest of the day? He said every jockey will do it willingly. That's something interesting to get forward, speak first, and then get them out of the way.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea from Anton. And
it's just the NHA probably have a system of the sooner we can get the all clear. But
Sure.
he said to me, 30 seconds and you're gone.
Absolutely.
So very interesting. Let's move on. Right, Warren. Now we got something from a guy called Ralph Fell. Now Ralph got a few points. I'm going to praise it because he tells us a little bit about how he started off years and years ago, and he went to Grey High School. He remembers Applause when he started off racing. Now that was a very good horse trained by Alec Ledd's father, and he has been communicating with Rob Scott, who is the CEO of Teletrack, and he says that they seem to try and have different opinions, and he says that he just wanted to know what our opinions was. He was basically saying is that people are going on the air and telling you what a horse is paying 5 to 8 minutes before, and then you think, well, I can get R4 a win on this horse, and then you get it and it's R2.80 because the changes all the time. Now, as Rob Scott accurately says, that's what happens. That's exactly what happens in racing. But we tell people what a horse is paying, and he has a go at me. He says, I'm surprised that your mate Laff is guilty of this misinformation by going 5 to 8 minutes before and telling people what they're paying. Ralph, I don't do that. I go a minute before. Before I cross over, I read out the tote dividends. If it changes that minute, so be it. But just to defend myself, he said, you can't go and he seems to think that Rob Scott, this system is flawed. But I'm on Rob Scott's side. If you keep telling people what it's paying, and we especially push the tote because they fund our racing, Warren.
Well, certainly they do, Paul. And as you say, you can use it as a guide. If you say 5 minutes to the race, number one, Silver Bushes is paying R5, and with a minute to go, Silver Bushes is now paying R2.80. Money's come for it.
It's
a guide.
It's a guide as well.
The money's coming on the tote.
That's
the money
right.
can be coming on the tote. So.
Yeah,
it's an interesting point, but it's certainly, I don't know if I'd call it misinformation.
He thinks we've got an obsession of talking about pools, but you know, when you commingle now, Warren, it's big money coming in, and it entices you to bet when you've got a good chance of getting a big par.
You know, and of course, the pick six punters and jackpot punters, they want to know what the pools are. The pools are swelling, and they want to have a go. So I think you've got to. I think
you got to realise that we push the tote. We always have pushed the tote. And personally, I like to go a minute before and give you the final bet, the final odds, and see how it goes. But it never works like that. Okay, now we did receive a lot of emails from Charles Fall. Now Charles Fall is a passionate studier and a watchdog of the industry, who is always pushing for transparency, and we respect everything he sent us. Charles, there's some really great stuff, but some stuff that I think we must talk about. And he makes a quote here that he says, never before in South African racing history have 7 individual tipsters correctly tipped 2 unraced horses for the first 2 in a post and a maiden race, basically because of the barrier trials. And it is interesting. He said it's never been done before, but because we put them out there, it's great, because that's what happened at Scottsville. And the presenter, the tipsters, had seen the gallops and said, sure, these look like 2 good horses, we're going to tip them, which he said is a fantastic plus. Now, we're not finished with him, because to finish with Charles early would be remiss of us, but something that I want you all to realize that this is his opinion, and it's not the opinion of ours. Not that we say he's wrong or right, but we just want to read it from where it comes, because it has a lot of merit. And jockeys are actually good for the game. He was talking about some things that happened in the last few weeks regarding jockeys, and there is a law passed by the NHA that you cannot be seen to mix with the public if you're a jockey in wherever there's gambling. So he said most of the jockeys will get up, and the case that comes to mind, he says, MJ Bielefeld being fined for going out and helping do a panel discussion without getting prior permission from the NHRA. Now the NHRA say you have to get hold of them and say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, where if it's any place of gambling. And he says this rule is way out of kilter. You know, it says here, I'll just read some of what he said here. Love them or hate them, let's accept that jockeys are the human hero face the sport. The average punter in the local tote would rather talk to the jockey than the man who plots the trip and changes the jet oil at the back of the hangar. By their nature, jockeys, and some more than others, have an allure and mystique for the man in the street. Some imagination that jockeys control the game, their lives to be fast and glamorous, cash and public adoration come easy. What a laugh, but what a lie. He said the reality is, at the end of the urban mythical rainbow, most are family men who eke out a living with the same frustrations and problems the rest of us mortals. They hardly seem to control the game. In fact, it's the other way around. And there is a rule, 21.3, and it says, without the written permission of the Stipendary Board, no jockey shall enter or visit any registered premises where members of the public are able to place any bets or wagers or any kind whatsoever. And he goes on to say again, Charles, the rule hardly takes cognizance of the fact that the nature of modern betting premises has changed dramatically in this century. There are racecourses, casinos, totes, private betting outlets where one can play a one-on bandit, buy a lottery ticket, spin a roulette wheel, and even have a soccer or a curling bet. You will never see a jockey at the Emperor's Palace unless they got permission from the staffs. He says you shouldn't be allowed to attend the Met draw at Grand West. You must be careful the local cafe hasn't got an LPM machine because you're transgressing. And when he does nitpick here, but he gets to the bottom of it, Warren, that they've got themselves in a situation where jockeys cannot go anywhere because of this rule 21.3. And he says it's in his opinion madness.
Yeah, he's definitely making a point of it, as you say, Paul, and he's nitpicking, but I think quite rightly so, because as he says, you know, what happens if the local cafe has got one-on bandit machines and he's going home to buy bread and milk and some cigarettes?
They're transgressing.
You know, and he'll be transgressing. So
just the last part of what Charles put here, and it's very interesting that he calls it the last straw. Aventure sponsored MJ Bellafell received an invite by Clyde Basil, the Pumlea Racing executive, inviting him to attend the Betting Wheel Met Day panel discussion in January. The ever-enthusiastic MJ willingly agreed. He loves the game, wants to add value when he can. Rule 21.3 was transgressed and he was fined. And he's given up free time, no remuneration, just to help the industry. And this is what is getting their backs up. He said the word is that local Stipendary Board Chairman Ernie Rodriguez did his damnedest to let sanity prevail. And after all, the racing operator invited the jockey who had fairly assumed he was within the rules. Racing doesn't need any more bad publicity, and this came at the wrong time. We need to basically address this, and I can see exactly where he's coming from, and it's got to be addressed. Yeah,
it has to be addressed. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, the NHA have got back to the situation, and I think they're on top of it. I think they've released an apology to MJ. I may be talking out of turn, but I did see that somewhere in the press, Paul. Yes. It is being addressed, be that as it may. And quite rightly so, because, you know, I mean, as it goes on to say somewhere, you know, Muzi Yeni and a lot of the guys are sponsored by Hollywood, by Winning Form, and they have panels, you know, that panel discussions at the July time and that sort of thing. So that's got to be reviewed. 21.3 has got to be reviewed. Charles, thanks very much for bringing it up. There's a lot of other stuff that Charles has brought to our attention, you know, with regard to barrier trials and the like, and we thank you for all your mails, Charles. And we're on that sort of covers what we've had to deal with this week. Very interesting, a wide band of ideas. Most certainly, and we've made a note of a couple of the things that the guys have suggested and the girls have suggested, and we'll bring that up. And it's been a wonderful show, and just received a text from Kevin Shea. He's landed back in South Africa from Dubai, so we'll catch up with him a bit later. Yeah. And yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you for having me, Paul. All right, thanks very much. Well, there we go. That's our show for this week. We'll see you. Jimbo's back next week, so the two of us will be back together.
Your world of winners is now online at www.teletrack.com. Simply subscribe to log into your account from any mobile device in South Africa and access a wide variety of content from our membership package options. Listen in via a live audio stream, catch live racing locally and internationally, or view a wide variety of Teletrack magazine shows to stay informed and updated on the go at any time. It's never been easier. Go to teletrack.com now.